2 in the morning, and I'm sitting in my garage workshop, nursing a whiskey that tastes like disappointment and staring at my phone screen. The joint bank account shows a withdrawal of $10,000 from yesterday. Laura's signature. No discussion, no mention, just gone. My name is Jack Whitman, 52 years old. Been running Whitman Construction for 23 years. Married to Laura for 32. Used to think that meant something. Used to think a lot of things. Laura's car isn't in the driveway. Another late meeting with her real estate clients. Funny how those meetings always seem to happen when the moon's high and honest folks are asleep. I take another sip and listen to the house settle around me, all those creaky floors and old bones groaning like they're tired of holding secrets. The dog, Rex, lifts his head from his bed and gives me that look. You know the one, part sympathy, part judgment. Even he knows something's rotten in Denmark, or in this case, coastal Maine. What do you think, boy? I ask him, scratching behind his ears. Think your mama's been honest about where she's been spending our money? Rex just sighs and puts his head back down. Smart dog. Knows when to keep his mouth shut, unlike his owner who's about to go digging where he probably shouldn't. I finish the whiskey and head inside. Laura's purse sits on the kitchen counter, black leather and expensive, like everything else she's been buying lately. My hands shake slightly as I open it. 32 years of marriage, and I'm searching through my wife's purse like some paranoid fool. But fools find things sometimes. The scarf is silk, navy blue with gold initials embroidered in the corner. R.H. Robert Hale. Our mayor. The man who's been shaking hands and kissing babies around town for the past 6 years, always with that perfect politician smile and his talk about community values. I hold the scarf up to the light, and it still smells like cologne. Expensive cologne. Not the kind I wear, not the kind any honest contractor can afford. My phone buzzes. Text message from Laura. Running late again, don't wait up. Love you. Love you. 3 words that used to mean everything, now sitting on my screen like a lie wrapped in pixels. I'm about to put the scarf back when I notice something else in her purse. A phone. Not her regular iPhone with a pink case and family photos, but a cheap flip phone, the kind you buy with cash when you don't want anyone tracking your calls. My fingers feel thick and clumsy as I flip it open. The message history makes my stomach drop like I'm falling off a cliff. Can't wait for our weekend getaway. Book the usual place. R. Already done. Told Jack I'm visiting my sister. L. You're incredible. See you Friday. Don't forget what we discussed about the waterfront project. I'll make it worth your while. L. There are photos, too. Laura in what looks like the mayor's office, wearing his tie and nothing else, grinning at the camera like she's won the lottery. Another one of them together at some fancy restaurant I've never been to, her hand on his chest, both of them laughing at some private joke. I sit down hard in the kitchen chair, the phone still open in my hands. 32 years. 3 decades of building a life together. Of working my hands raw to give her everything she wanted. Of believing in something that was apparently just smoke and mirrors. The front door opens, and Laura's heels click across the hardwood floor. I close the phone quickly and shove it back in her purse, my heart hammering against my ribs. Jack? You're still up? Her voice carries that fake sweetness she uses when she's been doing something she shouldn't. She appears in the kitchen doorway, still dressed in her business suit, hair perfect despite the late hour. Couldn't sleep, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. How was your meeting? Oh, you know how it is? Difficult clients, lots of paperwork. She moves to the refrigerator and pulls out a bottle of water, not meeting my eyes. The Hendersons are being impossible about the closing date. The Hendersons. I happen to know they closed on their house 3 weeks ago because Tom Henderson mentioned it when I ran into him at the hardware store. But I don't say that. Instead, I just nod and watch my wife lie to my face with the same ease she uses to butter toast. You look tired, she says, finally looking at me. You should get some rest. Yeah, probably should. I stand up, and for a moment we're just standing there in our kitchen, 2 people who used to know each other, now strangers sharing the same roof. She kisses my cheek, and I smell the mayor's cologne on her skin. Good night, honey, she whispers. Good night, Laura. I watch her walk upstairs, listen to her footsteps overhead as she gets ready for bed. When I hear the bathroom door close, I quietly grab her purse again and take photos of every message on that phone with my own device. Evidence. Because whatever game she's playing, whatever scheme she and our beloved mayor have cooked up, I'm going to find out exactly what it is. Then I'm going to make them both regret it. I always said Laura was clever, but she'd forgotten who taught her to lie. And tomorrow, I'm going to start teaching her what happens when you underestimate Jack Whitman. Morning comes with the smell of coffee and the sound of Laura humming in the kitchen, playing the perfect wife like she's auditioning for a role in some wholesome family movie. I watch her from the doorway, noting how she's dressed nicer than usual for a Wednesday. New blouse, expensive jewelry I don't remember buying. "Morning, sweetheart," she says without turning around. "I made your favorite blueberry pancakes." The pancakes sit on a plate, golden and perfect, like a peace offering from someone who doesn't even know she's at war yet. "Thanks." I sit down and take a bite. They taste like cardboard, but that might just be because everything tastes wrong when you're choking on betrayal. "I'll be late again tonight," she says, still not looking at me. "Sandra and I are showing the Morrison property to some investors from Boston." Sandra, Laura's best friend and fellow real estate agent. A woman who gossips like it's an Olympic sport and has always treated me like I'm something she scraped off her shoe. "Sounds important," I say. "It is. Could be a huge commission if we land them." Now she turns, giving me that bright smile that used to make my day. We might grab dinner afterward to celebrate. More lies, delivered with maple syrup and a side of fake affection. After Laura leaves in a cloud of perfume and promises. I call my niece Cassie. She's 28, works in IT for a company in Portland, and has always been the smartest person in our family. More importantly, she's one of the few people who's never been impressed by Laura's act. "Uncle Jack, what's up?" "I need a favor, Cass. A big one." "Can you meet me for lunch?" "Sure. Everything okay? You sound weird." "Everything's fine. Just need some technical advice." We meet at Murphy's Bar and Grill, the kind of place where the locals go to solve the world's problems over beer and burgers. Mick O'Brien owns the place, ex-cop turned bartender, my best friend since high school, and the kind of guy who knows everyone's business in a town this size. Cassie slides into the booth across from me, her laptop bag slung over her shoulder. She's got her mother's red hair and her grandfather's sharp eyes that are currently studying my face like she's reading a book. Okay, spill it," she says. "What's really going on?" I tell her everything. The money, the phone, the photos, the lies. Her expression grows darker with each detail, and by the time I finish, she looks ready to commit a crime. "That witch," she mutters. "I never liked her, but this... Uncle Jack, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be helpful. I need to know more about what they're planning, and I need evidence that will hold up if this goes legal." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Cassie nods, already pulling out her laptop. "I can help with the tech side, hidden cameras, audio recording, data recovery if she's deleted anything important. What about the financial stuff?" "I'm working on that. But first, I want to know exactly what's been going on." Mick appears at our table with 2 beers and a knowing look. "Heard you two whispering over here. Laura troubles?" I glance around the bar. It's mostly empty except for a few regulars nursing afternoon drinks. "What do you know, Mick?" He slides into the booth next to Cassie, lowering his voice. "I know she's been seen around town with His Honor the Mayor more than a married woman should be. I know Sandra's been bragging about having insider access to city planning decisions. And I know you deserve better than whatever game they're playing." "How long have you known?" "Couple months. Wasn't sure how to tell you, buddy. You seemed happy enough." "Happy?" "Right. I was happy because I was ignorant, living in a fantasy while my wife and the mayor made plans behind my back." "There's more," Mick continues. "Remember that waterfront development project that got approved last month? The one that made no sense because the environmental impact was terrible?" I nod. The whole town had been buzzing about it. A luxury hotel and shopping complex right on the water, approved despite massive opposition from environmental groups. Word is, certain people made a lot of money making sure that project got the green light. People with connections to the planning committee. People like Laura. People exactly like Laura. Cassie looks up from her laptop. "Uncle Jack, I need access to her computer. If she's been involved in planning corruption, there'll be email trails, financial records, something we can use." She keeps her laptop in her home office. I can get you access tonight while she's out with her clients. "Perfect, and I'll set you up with some recording equipment. Small stuff, easy to hide. If you can get them talking about their schemes, we'll have them." The plan starts to form in my mind, not just catching them in their affair, that's personal, but if they're involved in corruption, in using their positions to manipulate city planning for profit, that's criminal. That's something that could destroy both their careers and their reputations. That evening, Laura leaves for her dinner meeting, dressed like she's going to a royal ball. I wait 30 minutes, then call Cassie. "Coast is clear, come on over." She arrives with a bag full of equipment that looks like something from a spy movie. Tiny cameras, wireless microphones, data recovery tools, and a device she calls a digital forensics kit that can recover deleted files from any computer. This feels very cloak and dagger, I say as we head upstairs to Laura's office. Sometimes that's what it takes to catch the bad guys. Laura's office is neat and organized, everything in its place. Her laptop sits closed on the desk, surrounded by real estate files and city planning documents. Cassie plugs in her device and starts typing. Okay, I'm in. Let me see what we can find. For the next hour, we dig through Laura's digital life. Email accounts, financial software, document folders labeled things like Waterfront Project, and city contacts. The picture that emerges makes me sick. Laura hasn't just been having an affair with the mayor. She's been feeding him information about property values and development plans, information he's used to make decisions that benefit specific investors. In return, she's been getting insider knowledge about upcoming developments, allowing her to buy and sell properties at exactly the right time. Look at this, Cassie says, pointing to a series of emails. She bought 3 properties on Harbor Street 2 weeks before the Waterfront project was announced. Bought them for almost nothing because they were supposedly in a non-development zone. Then, magically, the zoning changed, and she sold them for 10 times what she paid. That's where the $10,000 went. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Uncle Jack, she's made over $200,000 in the past year from these deals. And look at this email from the mayor. She clicks on a message dated just last week. Laura, my darling, the Coastal Preservation Committee is meeting Thursday to discuss the new environmental restrictions. Make sure your clients know this is their last chance to buy before the regulations change. After this, those properties will be worthless for development. I'll make sure the vote goes the right way, but we need to move fast. Love, RPS. Can't wait for our weekend in Bar Harbor. I've booked the penthouse suite. They're not just stealing money, I say, reading over her shoulder. They're destroying the environment for profit. And laughing about it the whole time. Look at this. Another email. This one from Laura to the mayor. Robert, the environmental groups are getting suspicious about the voting patterns. Maybe we should cool it for a while. I don't want to end up in orange jumpsuits. LOL. Though you'd probably look cute in prison stripes. See you tonight. XOXO. L. Orange jumpsuits. Prison stripes. They think it's all a big joke, a game where they're too smart and too connected to ever face consequences. We're about to find out how wrong they are. Cassie installs the hidden cameras and microphones while I copy every file on Laura's computer. By the time we're done, we have enough evidence to end both their careers and probably send them to prison. But that's not enough. Not for what they've done to me, to our marriage, to our town. I want them humiliated. I want them exposed in front of everyone they've been lying to. I want their perfect little world to crumble around them while the whole town watches. What's the plan? Cassie asks as we pack up the equipment. First, we gather more evidence. I want recordings of them together, proof of their affair and their schemes. Then, we wait for the perfect moment to strike. What kind of moment? I think about the mayor's schedule, about the upcoming town events, about all the times Robert Hale has stood in front of our community talking about integrity and public service. The annual town council gala is next Friday. Big fundraiser, all the important people in town will be there. Local press, city council members, business leaders. You want to expose them publicly? I want to destroy them publicly. They've been playing games with our town, with people's lives, with my marriage. Time to show everyone exactly who they really are. As Cassie drives away, I sit in my kitchen with a fresh whiskey and think about the week ahead. Laura will keep lying, keep sneaking around, keep thinking she's smarter than her simple contractor husband, but I've got news for her. This simple contractor just became her worst nightmare. And the mayor? He's about to learn that some people fight back when you try to screw them over. For the first time in months, I'm actually looking forward to Friday night. The week crawls by like a wounded animal. Laura keeps up her charade, coming and going at odd hours, always with new stories about difficult clients and important meetings. I play the part of the oblivious husband, nodding and smiling while the hidden cameras record her every lie. Wednesday night, she brings home takeout from Romano's, the expensive Italian place downtown, and claims she picked it up on the way home from work. But I know Romano's doesn't do takeout, and I know she was at the mayor's house because Cassie's been tracking her phone. How was your day, honey? She asks, setting the containers on our dining room table like we're a normal couple having a normal dinner. Same old thing. Finished the Henderson job. Started prep work on the Morrison renovation. She freezes for just a second. The Morrison property. The one she claimed she was showing to investors from Boston. The one that's been sitting empty for 3 months with no showings scheduled. Oh, the Morrison place, she recovers quickly. How's it looking? Like nobody's been there in months. Funny thing, though, I ran into Sandra at the coffee shop this morning. She seemed surprised when I mentioned you two were showing it to those Boston investors. Laura's fork stops halfway to her mouth. Sandra's been scattered lately, probably just forgot. Probably. But we both know Sandra didn't forget anything. Sandra's many things, but scattered isn't one of them. She's sharp as a tack and twice as cutting, which is why what happened next surprised me. Thursday afternoon, Sandra shows up at my job site. I'm replacing rotted deck boards on the Kowalski house when her BMW pulls into the driveway. She gets out wearing a business suit and an expression I can't quite read. Jack, can we talk? I set down my hammer and walk over to her car. Up close, Sandra looks tired, older than her 50-something years. There are lines around her eyes I haven't noticed before. What's on your mind, Sandra? She glances around, making sure we're alone. I know you know about Laura and the mayor. The words hit me like a punch to the gut, even though I was expecting them. Do you now? I've known for months. I tried to talk her out of it, tried to make her see how stupid she was being, but Laura... You know how Laura is when she wants something. I do know Laura's always been like a force of nature when she sets her sights on a goal, relentless, focused, willing to steamroll anyone who gets in her way. Why are you telling me this? Sandra looks away, staring at the harbor in the distance. Because I'm tired of being her accomplice, and because what they're planning, it's going to hurt a lot of innocent people. What are they planning? The coastal preservation vote is tomorrow night, just before the gala. They're planning to wipe out the environmental protections and open the entire waterfront for development. Laura already has investors lined up to grab every piece of property they can. They'll make millions while tearing apart everything that makes this town unique. And you know this how? Because she wanted me to be part of it. Offered me a cut if I'd help coordinate the property sales. Sandra finally looks at me, and I see something I've never seen in her eyes before. Shame. I said yes at first. The money was significant. But then I realized what we'd be doing to this place, to the people who live here. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a small digital recorder. I recorded our conversation yesterday. Laura laying out the whole plan, bragging about how she's got the mayor wrapped around her finger, how easy it's been to manipulate the city council. I take the recorder, feeling its weight in my palm. Why give this to me? Because you're the only one who can stop them, and because... She pauses, struggling with the words. Because I've watched you love that woman for 32 years, and she doesn't deserve it. She never did. That night, I sit in my workshop listening to Sandra's recording. Laura's voice comes through clear and sharp, full of confidence and contempt. The environmental groups think they're so smart, but they don't understand how the real world works. A few campaign contributions, some well-timed favors, and suddenly the Coastal Preservation Committee sees things differently. Robert's got 3 of the 5 votes locked up. Sandra's voice. What about the public opposition? The petition has over 2,000 signatures. Laura laughs. Public opposition doesn't matter when you control the people making the decisions. Besides, once the development starts and the jobs start flowing, everyone will forget they ever cared about protecting some stupid wetlands. And your husband? What happens when Jack finds out? Jack won't find out. And even if he does, what's he going to do? He's a contractor, not a politician. He doesn't understand how these things work. That's where she's wrong. I understand exactly how these things work. I understand corruption, manipulation, and betrayal. I also understand revenge. Friday evening arrives with a cold rain that matches my mood. The town council gala is being held at the Ocean View Hotel, the fanciest place in our little corner of Maine. Laura spends 2 hours getting ready, transforming herself into the kind of woman who belongs at high society events. How do I look? She asks, spinning around in a black dress that probably cost more than I make in a week. Beautiful, I say, and mean it. She is beautiful, even now. Even knowing what I know, that's what makes this hurt so much. I'll probably be late. These things always run long, and there's the vote beforehand. The vote? Coastal Preservation Committee. Boring political stuff. You'd hate it. Probably would. She kisses my cheek, and I smell her perfume, see the excitement in her eyes. She's looking forward to tonight, to watching the committee vote down the environmental protections, to celebrating with her lover while their corruption pays off. I wait until her taillights disappear, then call Cassie. Showtime, Uncle Jack? Showtime. You got everything ready? Audio equipment, backup recordings, and a few surprises of my own. Meet me at the hotel in 30 minutes. The Ocean View Hotel sits on a bluff overlooking the harbor, all glass and granite, designed to impress tourists and intimidate locals. Tonight, it's full of the town's elite, city council members, business leaders, real estate developers, and the kind of people who think they run everything because they have money. I park in the back lot and meet Cassie by the service entrance. She's dressed like a catering assistant, complete with a name tag and a tray of glasses. "How'd you manage this?" I ask. "Friend of mine works for the catering company. I'm officially helping serve drinks tonight." "And unofficially?" She pats a small device clipped to her belt. "Unofficially, I'm broadcasting everything that happens in the main ballroom to a live stream that's going to about 300 people in town, including the local newspaper editor and the environmental groups." Inside, the hotel buzzes with conversation and the clink of wine glasses. I spot Laura immediately. She's holding court near the bar with Sandra and a group of women I recognize from the country club. She looks radiant, confident, completely unaware that her world is about to collapse. Mayor Robert Hale works the room like the politician he is, shaking hands and slapping backs, his perfect smile never wavering. He's a handsome man, I'll give him that. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of presence that makes people listen when he talks. The Coastal Preservation Committee meeting happens in a smaller conference room off the main ballroom. I position myself near the door where I can hear everything. The vote goes exactly as Laura predicted, 3-2 against the environmental protections, with the deciding votes coming from committee members who've suddenly changed their positions since last month. "This decision will bring jobs and prosperity to our community," Mayor Hale announces after the vote. "Sometimes we have to make difficult choices for the greater good." The greater good, right? The greater good of Robert Hale's bank account. As the committee members file out, I catch sight of Laura in the hallway, practically glowing with triumph. She exchanges a look with the mayor, quick, intimate, full of shared secrets. That's when I make my move. I walk into the main ballroom and find the microphone the mayor will use for his speech later. Cassie appears at my elbow with her tray of drinks. "You sure about this?" she whispers. "Never been more sure of anything in my life." I pull out my phone and connect it to the hotel's sound system, a trick Cassie taught me earlier. Then I wait. Mayor Hale takes the stage at 9 o'clock, just as planned. The room falls quiet as he begins his speech about community values and public service. I let him talk for about 2 minutes, long enough for everyone to focus on him, long enough for the live stream audience to grow. Then I play the recording. Sandra's voice fills the ballroom, clear and unmistakable. "What about the public opposition? The petition has over 2,000 signatures." And Laura's response, "Public opposition doesn't matter when you control the people making the decisions." The room erupts. People start shouting, demanding to know what's happening. Mayor Hale's perfect smile finally cracks as he realizes what's being broadcast to the entire town. But I'm not done. I have more recordings, more evidence. Laura talking about bribes and campaign contributions. The mayor laughing about manipulating committee votes. Both of them mocking the environmental groups and the stupid people who think they can stop progress. I watch Laura's face as her own voice condemns her in front of everyone she's been lying to. The color drains from her cheeks, and for the first time in years, she looks genuinely afraid. "That's enough," Mayor Hale shouts into his microphone, but his voice is drowned out by the crowd's anger. I walk through the chaos toward my wife, and when she sees me coming, her expression changes from fear to something like recognition. She finally understands who she's been underestimating all these months. "Hello, Laura," I say when I reach her. "Enjoying the party?" She tries to speak, but no words come out. Around us, the gala has dissolved into shouting matches and angry confrontations. The live stream is capturing everything, broadcasting our town's dirty laundry to anyone with an internet connection. "You," she finally manages. "You did this." "I did. Funny thing about secrets, Laura. They always surface eventually, especially when you're stupid enough to record them." Mayor Hale appears beside her, his political composure finally shattered. "You have no idea what you've done, Whitman. No idea who you're messing with." I step closer to him, close enough to smell his expensive cologne, close enough to see the sweat beading on his forehead. I know exactly who I'm messing with. A corrupt politician and a cheating wife who thought they were too smart to get caught. "This isn't over," he says. "You're right, it's not." I turn and walk away, leaving them standing in the wreckage of their perfect evening. Behind me, I can hear Laura calling my name, but I don't look back. Outside, the rain has stopped, and the harbor stretches out dark and endless under the stars. Cassie meets me in the parking lot, grinning like she's just won the lottery. "Holy cow, Uncle Jack, that was incredible. The live stream had over 800 viewers by the end. The whole town saw everything." "Good. Let them see what kind of people they elected." What happens now? I look back at the hotel, where lights are blazing and people are still arguing in the parking lot. Laura and the mayor are finished in this town, their reputations destroyed, their schemes exposed. But I'm not finished with them yet. Now we wait for them to make their next move, because desperate people do stupid things, and when they do, we'll be ready. For the first time in months, I sleep well that night. Not because my problems are solved, but because the war has finally begun, and I'm no longer fighting it alone. Saturday morning brings a phone that won't stop ringing and a wife who won't come out of the bedroom. Laura's been locked in there since she stumbled home at 2 a.m, and the sounds coming through the door suggest she's either crying or throwing things. Maybe both. The calls are from reporters, neighbors, and people I haven't talked to in years, all wanting to know about last night's incident at the gala. Word travels fast in a small town, and apparently the live stream video has been shared on social media about 1,000 times. I let them all go to voicemail. Around noon, there's a knock at my front door. Through the window, I see a man in an expensive suit holding a briefcase, the kind of lawyer who charges by the minute and bills for thinking about your case in the shower. Mr. Whitman, I'm David Garrett, attorney for Mayor Hale. We need to talk. I open the door but don't invite him in. About what? About the stolen recordings you broadcast last night. About the illegal surveillance equipment you've been using. About the defamation lawsuit my client is prepared to file unless you cease and desist immediately. Stolen recordings? The conversations between my client and your wife were private, recorded without consent. That's a felony in Maine. I lean against the doorframe, studying his face. He's young, probably expensive, definitely out of his depth. Funny thing about that. See, those recordings were made in my house with my equipment of conversations involving my wife. In Maine, you only need one party's consent to record a conversation. Since it's my house and my wife, I'm pretty sure I qualify as an interested party. His confidence wavers slightly. The recordings from the mayor's office were made by my wife, on her phone, and voluntarily shared with me. Check your law books, counselor. Everything I did last night was perfectly legal. That's not entirely true, but he doesn't need to know that. The important thing is making him doubt himself, making the mayor doubt himself. Desperate people make mistakes, and I'm counting on Robert Hale to make a big one. After the lawyer leaves, I call Mick. Heard you caused quite a stir last night, he says without preamble. You could say that. What's the word around town? About half the people think you're a hero for exposing corruption. The other half think you're a vindictive husband who went too far. The environmental groups are planning a protest march for Monday. The mayor's office isn't answering their phones. What about Laura? Haven't seen her. Sandra's been telling anyone who'll listen that she tried to stop the whole thing, that she was just an innocent bystander who got caught up in Laura's schemes. Sandra, the woman who handed me the evidence I needed to destroy my wife and her lover. I'm starting to think Sandra's motivations weren't as pure as she claimed. That afternoon, Laura finally emerges from the bedroom. She looks like she's aged 10 years overnight, hair disheveled, makeup smeared, wearing the same dress from the gala like she fell asleep in it. We need to talk, she says. Now you want to talk? She sits down at the kitchen table, and I notice her hands are shaking. Jack, I know how this looks, but you don't understand the whole situation. Enlighten me. Robert and I, it wasn't supposed to happen. It just did. And the business deals, they were legitimate investments. Stop. I hold up my hand. Just stop. I heard the recordings, Laura. I know about the bribes, the insider trading, the environmental committee. I know about the weekend trips and the secret phone and the photos in his office. Her face crumbles. How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, what happens now? What do you want? Money? I'll give you half of everything. The house, the business accounts, whatever you want. I want my 32 years back. I want the woman I married instead of the stranger who's been lying to me for months. But since I can't have that, I'll settle for the truth. She's quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. It started last year at the mayor's Christmas party. Robert was charming, attentive, interested in my opinions about the town's development. You were working late on the Patterson job, remember? You missed the party. I remember. Laura had been angry about it, said I was embarrassing her by prioritizing work over social obligations. We started meeting for coffee to discuss real estate opportunities, then lunch, then... She shrugs. He made me feel important, Jack. Like I mattered, like my ideas were valuable. And the corruption? That came later. Robert mentioned some upcoming zoning changes, suggested I might want to position myself to take advantage of them. It seemed harmless at first, just smart business. But it wasn't harmless? No, it wasn't. She looks up at me, and I see something that might be genuine remorse. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? She doesn't answer, which is an answer in itself. My phone rings, Cassie's name on the screen. Uncle Jack, we have a problem. I've been monitoring Laura's email accounts, and there's been some activity you need to know about. What kind of activity? The mayor's been sending messages. He wants to meet with Laura tonight. Says they need to coordinate their response to last night's events. I look at Laura, who's pretending not to listen. Where? The old Riverside Motel on Route 1, room 12, 8 o'clock. The Riverside Motel, a rundown place that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. Perfect for a clandestine meeting between two people whose world just exploded. Thanks, Cass. Keep monitoring. After I hang up, Laura tries to act casual. Who was that? Nobody important. What are your plans for tonight? I thought I'd stay home. We have a lot to figure out. Another lie. Even now, even after everything, she's still lying to my face. Good idea. I think I'll go grab a beer with Mick, give you some space to think. At 7:30, I park across the street from the Riverside Motel and wait. The place looks even worse than I remembered. Peeling paint, broken neon sign, parking lot full of potholes. The kind of establishment that matches the moral character of its current guests. Laura's car arrives at 5 minutes to 8. She parks in front of room 12 and hurries inside without looking around. Sloppy. If you're going to have a secret meeting, you should at least check for surveillance. Mayor Hale's black Mercedes pulls in 10 minutes later. He's more careful, scanning the parking lot before getting out, but he doesn't spot my truck in the shadows across the street. I give them 15 minutes to get comfortable, then I make my move. The window to room 12 has thin curtains that don't quite meet in the middle. Through the gap, I can see them sitting on the bed, Laura crying, while the mayor paces back and forth like a caged animal. I can't hear what they're saying, but their body language tells the story. This isn't a romantic rendezvous. This is a crisis meeting between two people who realize their schemes have blown up in their faces. I take photos through the window, not for evidence this time, but for insurance. Then I circle around to the back of the motel where the walls are thin and the windows don't close properly. Have to leave town, the mayor is saying, at least until this blows over. Leave town? Robert, I can't just disappear. I have a business, a house. You have a scandal. We both do. The state attorney general's office is already asking questions about the committee vote. If they start investigating the real estate deals, they won't find anything. We were careful. Were we? Because your husband seems to know an awful lot about our private business. There's a long pause. Then Laura's voice, smaller and more frightened than I've ever heard it. What are we going to do? We're going to disappear for a while. I have a place in Florida off the books. We can lay low there until the heat dies down. And then what? Then we start over somewhere else. New town, new identities if necessary. New identities. They're not just planning to run away. They're planning to vanish completely, leaving behind the mess they've made and all the people they've hurt. I've heard enough. I walk around to the front of the motel and knock on the door of room 12. The voices inside stop immediately. Room service, I call out in a fake accent. We didn't order room service, the mayor's voice, suspicious. Complimentary champagne from the management. I hear whispered conversation, then footsteps. The door opens a crack, and Mayor Hale peers out. When he sees me, his face goes white. Hello, Bob. Mind if I come in? He tries to close the door, but I'm already pushing through. Inside, Laura sits on the bed, looking like she wants to disappear into the mattress. Cozy place, I say, looking around at the water-stained wallpaper and cigarette-burned furniture. Really matches your moral standards. Get out, the mayor says. You're trespassing. Actually, this is a public accommodation, and I haven't been asked to leave by the management, but I'm not here to debate property law. I turn to Laura. I'm here to discuss your travel plans. She won't meet my eyes. I don't know what you mean. Florida. New identities. Starting over somewhere else. Ring any bells? The mayor steps between us. You've been spying on us. I've been protecting my interests. See, when your wife starts planning to disappear with stolen money and her corrupt lover, a man tends to take precautions. What do you want? He asks. I want you to stay right here in town and face the consequences of what you've done. I want you to answer the Attorney General's questions and explain to the environmental groups why you sold out their cause for money. I want you to look the people of this town in the eye and admit what you are. And if we refuse? I pull out my phone and show them the photos I just took through the window. Then these pictures get sent to every newspaper in Maine, along with the recordings of your little escape plan. Think the voters will appreciate knowing their mayor was planning to flee the state rather than face investigation? Laura finally looks at me. Jack, please. You've already destroyed us. Isn't that enough? No, Laura, it's not. You didn't just cheat on me. You cheated on this entire town. You stole money, corrupted the political process, and sold out the environment for profit. And now you want to run away like cowards instead of facing what you've done. We'll be ruined if we stay. You're already ruined. The question is whether you'll be ruined with dignity or ruined as fugitives. I head for the door, then turn back. You've got until Monday morning to decide. After that, I start sharing those recordings of tonight's conversation, the ones where you discussed fleeing the state to avoid investigation. Outside, the night air feels clean after the stale atmosphere of the motel room. I sit in my truck for a few minutes, watching the light in room 12, thinking about the two people inside whose perfect world has become a prison. They'll try to run. I'm almost certain of it. Desperate people always choose flight over fight when they think they can get away with it. But I'm not done with them yet. Not by a long shot. Monday morning is going to be very interesting. Monday morning arrives with the kind of gray, drizzly weather that makes everything look depressing. Well, perfect for what I have planned. Laura didn't come home Sunday night. Her car's gone from the driveway, and when I check our joint bank accounts online, I find she's tried to withdraw everything, tried being the key word. Cassie helped me freeze the accounts on Friday, so all Laura managed to do was trigger fraud alerts at 3 different banks. My phone rings at 8 a.m. Cassie, sounding excited. Uncle Jack, you need to see the news. I turn on the local station just in time to catch the morning report. The anchor, a serious-looking woman named Janet Mills, is standing in front of the town hall with a microphone. Sources confirm that Mayor Robert Hale failed to appear for a scheduled meeting with state investigators this morning. His office claims he's suffering from a family emergency, but critics are calling his absence suspicious, given Friday night's revelations about corruption in city government. The camera cuts to footage from Friday's gala, my voice playing over the hotel's sound system while people shout and point. Then it shows protesters gathering outside City Hall with signs reading, "Recall Hale" and "Environmental Protection Now." In related news, the anchor continues, real estate agent Laura Whitman, who was implicated in the recordings, has also disappeared. Her business partner, Sandra Chen, says she hasn't heard from Whitman since Friday night. Sandra Chen. Interesting. Apparently Sandra's decided to distance herself from Laura completely, even changing her story about their partnership. The phone rings again. This time it's Mick. You watching the news? Just turned it on. Any word from the mayor's office? Nothing official, but his secretary called in sick, and there's talk about an emergency city council meeting this afternoon. Word is, they're going to discuss a vote of no confidence. What about Laura? Nobody's seen her. Sandra's been telling people she tried to warn Laura about getting involved with the mayor, that she had nothing to do with the corruption scheme. Sandra's playing this smart, positioning herself as the innocent victim who got caught up in someone else's crimes. But I remember the recording she gave me, remember how eager she was to help bring down Laura and the mayor. Sandra's got her own agenda, and I'm starting to think it's more complicated than simple revenge. At 10 a.m., I get a call from a number I don't recognize. Jack, it's me. Laura's voice, small and scared. Where are you? That doesn't matter. I need to talk to you. So talk. Not over the phone. Meet me at the harbor park in an hour. Come alone. Why would I do that? Because I have something you want. Information about Sandra that changes everything. The line goes silent. I stare at the phone, wondering what game Laura's playing now. Information about Sandra? What could Sandra have done that would matter at this point? But curiosity wins out. An hour later, I'm sitting on a bench overlooking the harbor, watching fishing boats bob in the choppy water. Laura appears from the direction of the parking lot, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap like she's trying to disguise herself. She looks terrible. Her clothes are wrinkled, her hair unwashed, and there are dark circles under her eyes that even the sunglasses can't hide. Thanks for coming, she says, sitting down beside me but not looking in my direction. What's this about, Laura? Sandra set us up. What do you mean? The recording she gave you, the one where I talked about the environmental committee vote, she didn't make that to help you. She made it because she wanted my clients, my connections, my share of the real estate market. I turned to look at her. You're saying Sandra recorded you to destroy your business? I'm saying Sandra's been planning this for months. She knew about Robert and me from the beginning. She's the one who introduced us at that Christmas party. She encouraged the relationship, pushed me to get more involved in the real estate deals, even suggested some of the properties I should buy. Why would she do that? Because she was documenting everything, every conversation, every transaction, every meeting with Robert. She was building a case against me while pretending to be my friend and business partner. Laura pulls out a tablet and shows me a series of emails. Messages between Sandra and someone named David Morrison. Apparently the same Morrison whose property I've been renovating. David Morrison is Sandra's cousin, Laura explains. He's also a real estate developer from Boston. Look at the dates on these emails. I scan the messages and my stomach sinks. The emails start from 8 months ago, long before Laura's affair with the mayor became serious. Sandra and her cousin discussing property values, development opportunities, and, most damning, ways to remove competition from the local market. Sandra's been planning to take over my business from the beginning, Laura continues. She needed me out of the way, so she orchestrated the whole thing. The affair, the corruption, even the environmental committee scheme. It was all designed to destroy me and Robert while positioning her to take control of the waterfront development project. You're saying she manipulated you into having an affair? I'm saying she created the opportunity and then made sure I'd get caught. Think about it, Jack. How did you find that burner phone? I never left it where you could see it before that night. I remember that evening, the way the phone was sitting right on top of everything else in Laura's purse, almost like it had been placed there deliberately. Sandra had a key to our house, Laura says. She could have moved the phone, made sure you'd find it. Even if that's true, it doesn't excuse what you did. You still chose to have an affair. You still chose to participate in the corruption. You're right, I made those choices. But Sandra made sure I'd make them, and she made sure I'd get caught. Laura shows me more emails, these between Sandra and a lawyer in Portland. They're discussing something called acquisition opportunities and market consolidation strategies. She's been working with outside investors to buy up properties in town, Laura explains. The environmental scandal was supposed to drive down property values, making everything cheaper to acquire. Then, once Sandra had control of the market, they'd reverse the environmental protections and develop everything. How do you know all this? Because I broke into Sandra's office last night and copied her computer files. I know it was wrong, but I needed to understand what was happening. Laura hands me a flash drive. Everything's on here. Emails, financial records, development plans. Sandra's not the innocent victim she's pretending to be. She's the mastermind behind the whole scheme. I pocket the flash drive, not sure what to believe anymore. Could Sandra really have orchestrated this entire situation? The woman who handed me the evidence to destroy my wife, who seemed so concerned about the environmental damage, who claimed she was just trying to do the right thing. What do you want from me, Laura? I want you to expose her the same way you exposed us. She destroyed our marriage, ruined Robert's career, and corrupted the entire city government, all so she could make money on real estate deals. And what about you? What about what you did? Laura takes off her sunglasses, and I see tears in her eyes. What I did was wrong. The affair, the corruption, all of it. I hurt you, I hurt this town, and I hurt myself. But I was manipulated into it by someone I trusted, someone who pretended to be my friend while planning my destruction. Where's the mayor? Robert's at his cabin up north. He's scared, talking about leaving the state permanently. He doesn't know about Sandra's real plan. He thinks she was just an innocent bystander who got caught up in our mess. I stand up, looking out at the harbor where fishing boats are heading out for their daily catch. Simple, honest work by simple, honest people who don't deserve to have their town destroyed by schemes and corruption. If what you're saying is true, then Sandra's about to become the most powerful real estate agent in town while everyone thinks she's a hero for exposing corruption. She'll control the entire waterfront development project, make millions while destroying everything that makes this place special. I think about Sandra's performance at my job site, her claims about trying to stop Laura, her convenient decision to hand over evidence that destroyed her business partner while making herself look innocent. The city council meeting is this afternoon, I say. They're going to vote on the mayor's future, probably discuss the environmental committee scandal. Sandra will be there. She's been positioning herself as the voice of ethical business practices, the real estate agent who stands up for integrity. Then that's where we'll expose her. Laura looks surprised. We? You created this mess, Laura. If you want any chance of redemption, you're going to help clean it up. That afternoon, the city council chambers are packed with angry citizens demanding answers about the corruption scandal. Sandra sits in the front row, wearing a conservative business suit and a concerned expression, playing the role of the ethical businesswoman who's shocked by her former partner's crimes. She's good. I'll give her that. When the council asks her to comment on Laura's actions, she speaks with just the right mix of sadness and moral outrage. I tried to warn Laura about getting too involved with Mayor Hale, she says. I told her the relationship looked inappropriate, that the real estate deals seemed questionable, but she wouldn't listen. She said I was just jealous of her success. The crowd murmurs sympathetically. Sandra's playing them perfectly, positioning herself as the innocent victim who tried to stop the corruption but was ignored. That's when I stand up. Ms. Chen, I have some questions about your relationship with David Morrison. Sandra's composure falters for just a second. I'm sorry, who? David Morrison, your cousin, the real estate developer from Boston who's been planning to acquire waterfront properties in our town. I don't know what you're talking about. I pull out the flash drive Laura gave me and hand it to the council chairman. This contains emails between Ms. Chen and her cousin discussing plans to manipulate the local real estate market, including strategies to remove competition and acquire properties at below-market prices. The room erupts. Sandra tries to speak, but her voice is drowned out by angry shouts from the crowd. You have no right to those emails, she says when the noise dies down. They were obtained illegally. Actually, they were obtained by my wife when she broke into your office, which was wrong, I'll admit. But the content of those emails shows a pattern of manipulation and market manipulation that makes the mayor's corruption look like small-time crime. The council chairman reads from the flash drive, his expression growing darker with each email. Ms. Chen, these messages discuss removing local competition and creating acquisition opportunities through market disruption. Can you explain what that means? Sandra looks around the room, realizing that her carefully constructed image is crumbling. Those emails are taken out of context. What context makes planning to destroy local businesses acceptable? I ask. Laura appears at the back of the room, still wearing her baseball cap and sunglasses, but no longer hiding. Sandra orchestrated my affair with the mayor, she announces. She introduced us, encouraged the relationship, and documented everything so she could use it to destroy my business when the time was right. The crowd turns to stare at Laura, and the murmur of voices grows louder. Sandra's face goes pale. That's ridiculous, Sandra says. Laura's just trying to blame someone else for her own crimes. Then explain this. Laura holds up her phone, and Sandra's voice fills the room through the council's sound system. Laura's getting too suspicious about the development deals. We need to trigger the exposure soon before she figures out what we're really doing. And a man's voice responding, How long before the real estate market crashes? Give it 2 weeks after the scandal breaks. Property values will drop at least 30%. Then we move in and buy everything. The room explodes in anger. People are shouting, pointing at Sandra, demanding answers. The council chairman bangs his gavel repeatedly, trying to restore order. Sandra tries to run, but the crowd blocks her path to the exit. She's trapped in the front row, surrounded by people who trusted her, who thought she was one of the good guys. You destroyed this town for money, someone shouts. You're worse than the mayor, yells another voice. I watch Sandra's face as she realizes her perfect plan has collapsed. She'd counted on Laura disappearing, on the mayor taking all the blame, on positioning herself as the ethical alternative in a corrupt market. Instead, she's exposed as the puppet master behind the entire scheme. The meeting dissolves into chaos, with the council unable to restore order. Outside, news crews are setting up cameras, preparing to broadcast the latest twist in our town's corruption scandal. Laura finds me in the parking lot. What happens now? Now the state investigators have 3 people to investigate instead of 2, and the environmental groups have a real target for their anger. I meant what happens to us. I look at my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, and try to find some remnant of the woman I married 32 years ago. She's there, buried under the lies and manipulation and poor choices, but she's there. I don't know, Laura. We've got a lot to figure out. I'm sorry, Jack, for all of it. I know you are. The question is whether sorry is enough. As I drive home, I think about Sandra's plan and how close it came to working. She would have destroyed 3 lives, corrupted the city government, and devastated the local environment, all for profit. And she would have gotten away with it if Laura hadn't been smart enough to see through the manipulation. But it's not over yet. Sandra still has powerful allies, still has money and connections. She'll try to fight back, try to spin this as a conspiracy against her. That's when I realize the final phase of this war is just beginning. The next morning brings reporters to my front door and a town that's buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. The story has gone statewide: corruption, manipulation, and betrayal in a small Maine town. The kind of story that makes people feel better about their own problems while shaking their heads at the mess we've made. Sandra's not giving up without a fight. She's hired the same expensive lawyer who threatened me on behalf of the mayor, and they're claiming the emails were fabricated, that Laura and I are conspiring to frame an innocent woman. It's a desperate attempt by 2 criminals to shift blame, Sandra tells the Portland Press-Herald. I'm the victim here, not the perpetrator. She's good at playing victim, always has been. But this time, she's underestimated how angry this town can get when someone tries to destroy everything they care about. Cassie calls me at noon with an update. The state attorney general's office wants to interview you this afternoon. They're treating this as a major corruption case now. What about Sandra's claims that the evidence was fabricated? They're bringing in digital forensics experts. If the emails are real, they'll be able to prove it. If they're fake, we're in trouble. That afternoon, I sit in a sterile conference room in the state office building in Augusta, facing two investigators who look like they have seen every kind of corruption imaginable. Mr. Whitman, says the lead investigator, a woman named Agent Patricia Ross, we need to understand exactly how you obtained this evidence. I tell them everything: the discovery of Laura's affair, the hidden cameras, Sandra's decision to hand over recordings, Laura's break-in at Sandra's office. I don't leave anything out. Don't try to make myself look better than I am. So you're admitting to illegal surveillance? Asked the second investigator. I'm admitting to recording conversations in my own home involving my wife. Everything else was either given to me voluntarily or obtained by my wife, not me. Agent Ross studies the emails on her laptop. These messages show a sophisticated conspiracy to manipulate the real estate market. If they're authentic, Ms. Chen could face federal charges for wire fraud and conspiracy. And if they're not authentic, then you and your wife could face charges for evidence tampering and filing false reports. After 3 hours of questions, they let me go with instructions not to leave the state. I drive home through a town that feels different now, changed by everything that's happened. People look at me strangely, some with sympathy, some with suspicion, some with the kind of curiosity reserved for car accidents and other disasters. That evening, Laura calls. The investigators want to interview me tomorrow. Jack, I'm scared. Tell them the truth, all of it. What if they don't believe me? What if Sandra's lawyers convince them that we made everything up? Then we deal with the consequences. But the truth has a way of coming out, Laura. You taught me that. I never taught you that. Sure you did. Every time you lied to me, every time you thought you were smarter than everyone else, you taught me that lies eventually collapse under their own weight. Thursday morning brings the kind of news that makes a man believe in justice again. The digital forensics team has confirmed that Sandra's emails are authentic, that the timestamps and metadata all check out. More importantly, they found additional evidence on Sandra's computer, financial records showing payments from her cousin's development company, plans for acquiring specific properties, and communications with other real estate agents in nearby towns who were part of the scheme. Sandra's arrested at her office while showing a house to potential buyers. The news footage shows her being led away in handcuffs, still protesting her innocence, still claiming she's the victim of a conspiracy. But the evidence is overwhelming. Federal investigators have traced money from David Morrison's company through a series of shell corporations to Sandra's accounts. They've found similar schemes in 3 other main towns where Sandra had business relationships with local politicians and real estate agents. She wasn't just trying to take over our town's real estate market, she was running a regional operation designed to manipulate property values and corrupt local governments across coastal Maine. Mayor Robert Hale turns himself in that afternoon, accompanied by his own lawyer and a prepared statement admitting to accepting bribes and manipulating committee votes. His political career is over, his marriage is probably finished, and he's looking at serious prison time. But he's taking responsibility for his actions, which is more than Sandra ever did. Friday evening, the town holds an emergency meeting to discuss the environmental committee vote and the waterfront development project. The community center is packed with people who want answers, who want to know how their town government became so corrupt, who want to make sure it never happens again. I sit in the back, watching as speaker after speaker condemns the corruption and demands new protections for the environment. The mood is angry, but hopeful. People believe they can fix what's been broken, that they can build something better from the wreckage. That's when Laura walks in. She's cleaned up since our meeting at the harbor, wearing a simple dress and no makeup, looking more like the woman I married than the polished real estate agent she became. People turn to stare as she makes her way to the front of the room. I'd like to say something, she tells the moderator. The room falls silent. This is the woman who helped corrupt their city government, who participated in schemes to destroy their environment for profit. They're not inclined to be sympathetic. I know most of you hate me right now, Laura begins, her voice shaking slightly. You have every right to. I betrayed your trust, participated in corruption, and helped damage something precious for money. Someone in the crowd shouts, Why should we listen to you? Because I want to make it right. I can't undo what I've done, but I can help prevent it from happening again. Laura pulls out a folder thick with documents. These are copies of every real estate transaction I've been involved in for the past 2 years, Every deal, every commission, every connection to city planning decisions, I'm turning them over to the state investigators and to this community. She sets the folder on the table at the front of the room. I'm also donating every dollar I made from the corrupt deals to the Environmental Restoration Fund. It won't repair the damage, but it's a start. The crowd murmurs, not sure how to respond. Laura continues, I was manipulated by Sandra Chen, but that doesn't excuse my choices. I chose to have an affair, I chose to participate in corruption, I chose money over integrity, and I hurt people I care about. She looks directly at me. I hurt my husband, who deserved better than a wife who threw away 32 years of marriage for excitement and profit. What do you want from us? Someone calls out. Nothing. I don't expect forgiveness or sympathy. I just want you to know that Sandra Chen's arrest isn't the end of this story. There are other real estate agents, other developers, other politicians who were part of her network. The corruption goes deeper than what we've seen so far. Laura provides names, companies, connections that the investigators haven't discovered yet. She's burning every bridge, destroying every relationship she built in the real estate world, but she's also providing information that could prevent similar corruption in other towns. When she finishes speaking, the room is quiet. Then, slowly, people begin asking questions. Not angry accusations, but genuine requests for information that could help clean up the mess. I watch my wife answer their questions honestly, admitting her mistakes, providing details that could help prosecute other corrupt officials. She's destroying herself professionally, but she's also doing something I haven't seen from her in years. She's telling the complete truth. After the meeting, I find her in the parking lot, sitting in her car with the engine running. That was brave, I say. That was necessary. Jack, I know our marriage is over. I know you can't forgive what I've done. But I want you to know that I remember who I used to be, who we used to be together. What will you do now? I'm moving to Portland, starting over. My real estate license is suspended pending investigation, so I'll find something else. Maybe something that actually helps people instead of exploiting them. Laura, don't. Please. We both know this is how it has to end. She drives away, and I watch her taillights disappear into the night. 32 years of marriage, reduced to a conversation in a parking lot and the knowledge that some mistakes can't be forgiven, even when they're acknowledged. But as I drive home through a town that's beginning to heal from its wounds, I realize something important. The truth did come out. The corruption was exposed. The people who tried to destroy this place for profit are facing justice. And sometimes that's enough. 6 months later, Sandra Chen is sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for wire fraud, conspiracy, and public corruption. Mayor Robert Hale gets 4 years and agrees to cooperate with ongoing investigations into similar schemes in other towns. Laura keeps her word about the money, donating over $300,000 to environmental restoration projects. She also testifies in federal court against other members of Sandra's network, helping prosecutors build cases against corrupt officials across Maine. The waterfront development project is canceled, the environmental protections are restored and strengthened, and the town elects a new mayor who campaigns on transparency and accountability. I keep working, keep building things with my hands, keep living in the house where Laura and I were happy before greed and manipulation destroyed what we had. Some evenings, I sit in my workshop with a whiskey and think about the choices people make, the prices they pay, and the way truth has of surfacing no matter how deep you try to bury it. I never see Laura again, but I hear she's working for a nonprofit organization that helps small towns fight corruption and development schemes. Apparently, she's good at it. Turns out that understanding how corruption works makes you effective at preventing it. As for me, I'm building a new deck for the Kowalskis, replacing the old one that was rotted and unsafe. It's honest work, the kind that makes a difference in people's lives without hurting anyone else. And every morning, I wake up in a town that's a little cleaner, a little more honest, and a little more careful about the people they trust with power. Sometimes, that's the best revenge of all.